there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I'm going to be doing my October stats and standouts. If you don't know what my stats and standouts video is, it is where every month I do one video where I talk about all my reading stats as well as my 5 most favorite books that I've read during that month. I also briefly go over every book that I've read and their star rating. I know I read a lot of books every month, so this is a way that I kind of condense it for people who don't want to watch my really long wrap-ups. So since this is kind of a longer video, let's hop right into it. So for the genres that I read this month, it was not very well distributed. I only read one historical fiction, which is a little bit better than some of my past months. I read 13 romance books and I read 22 thrillers. I am not surprised that I read 22 thrillers because I participated in 2 kind of spooky Halloween themed readathons and I read a ton of thrillers during those. Then for the source of the books that I read 6 library books, 6 books off my shelves, 11 ebooks, and 13 ARCs. And I do read most of the ARCs via ebook, but occasionally I do read a physical ARC. Then for my star rating distribution, I had 0 1-star books, I had 1 2-star book, 11 3-star books, 21 4-star books, and 3 5-star books. And this isn't exactly accurate just because on Goodreads you can't do half stars and a lot of my ratings are half stars, so I either have to go up or down. So I think that's why my 4 stars I have 21, just because a lot of the 3.5 stars I round up to 4. And then the total number of books I read this month was 36 and the total number of pages is 11,809. So I'm really pleased with the amount of books and pages that I read this month. And let's just quickly zoom through all the books that I read, all 36 of them. The first book that I read is Silka's Journey by Heather Morris. I gave this 3.5 stars. When She Returned by Lucinda Berry, I gave this 4 stars. When Autumn Ends by Beth Renew, I gave this 4 stars. The Second Coming by Carrie Aarons, I gave this 2.5 stars. Tear Me Apart by J.T. Ellison, I gave this 4 stars. Park Avenue Player by V. Keeland and Penelope Ward, I gave this 4.5 stars. The Other Daughter by Shalini Boland, I gave this 3.5 stars. Happy Trail by Daisy Prescott, I gave this 5 stars. A Pizza My Heart by Tegan Hunter, I gave this 4 stars. Tattered by Devney Perry, I gave this 4 stars. Just Playin' by Shandy Boys, I gave this 3 stars. Such a Perfect Wife by Kate White, I gave this 4 stars. Good Girls Lie by J.T. Ellison, I gave this 3 stars. One Hot Night by Casey Shea, I gave this 4 stars. The Test by Sylvan Nouvelle, I gave 3.5 stars. Dead Girls by Abigail Tartolin, I gave this 2 stars. All the Beautiful Lies by Peter Swanson, I gave this 4 stars. The Marriage Lie by Kimberly Bell, I gave this 4.5 stars. The Other Wife by Claire McGowan, I gave 4 stars. The Other Misses by Mary Kubica, I gave 3.5 stars. Traces of Her by Amanda Brittany, I gave 3 stars. The Dead Girls Club by Damian Angelica Walters, I gave this 3 stars. Baking Me Crazy by Carla Sorensen, I gave this 4 stars. From Luke Off with Love by Mariana Zapata, I gave this 4 stars. Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino, I gave this 5 stars. Landon and Shay by Brittany C. Cherry, I gave this 4 stars. Stud Muffin by Jiffy Kate, I gave this 3 stars. The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn, I gave this 4 stars. Girls Like Us by Christina Alger, I gave this 3.5 stars. Last Summer by Carrie Lonsdale, I gave this 4 stars. The Secrets She Keeps by Michael Robotham, I gave this 4 stars. The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, I gave this 4.5 stars. Problem Child by Victoria Helen Stone, I gave this 3 stars. The Stranger Inside by Lisa Unger, I gave 3 stars. Not That I Could Tell by Jessica Strasser, I gave 3 stars. The Whisper Man by Alex North, I gave 3.5 stars. So those are all the books that I read this month and their star ratings. So for my standouts of the month, I have 2 thrillers and 3 romances. The first standout of the month is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. I had never read anything by this author before, and it takes place in 2 different timelines. It is in 1982 as well as I think in 2017, and it follows 2 different young women in their respective timelines. Back in 1982, a young woman comes to upstate New York to this small town and she gets a job at this creepy old motel as a night shift worker, and while she's there on night shift, creepy things start happening, like doors are opening, the lights are turning off, she smells weird things, she sees weird things, and it's a pretty paranormal atmosphere. And we do know that the girl in 1982, after she takes that job, she goes missing from that town like 3 months later, and before she goes missing she starts investigating all these girls that were killed in this small town and a possible serial killer, and you're kind of wondering if that serial killer has offed her as well. And we jump forward to 2017. We're following the story of her long lost niece who is going to this small town to figure out what happened to her aunt almost like 40 years ago. And the 2 storylines really mirror each other because the same things happen to the girl currently as they did in 1982. And if you like an atmospheric ghost story, I think you would love this story. It is so good and I can't wait to read more by this author. The next book is The Marriage Lie by Kimberly Bell, and this is about a woman who is happily married to her husband and he ends up going on a business trip and his plane crashes and everyone on on board dies, including him. But what really throws the woman off is her husband told her he was taking a different flight to Florida, but the plane that crashed was going to Seattle. So she realizes her husband lied to her and she's wondering why. So she starts looking into this lie that he had, and it snowballs into these crazier, bigger lies, and she realizes she really didn't know her husband. And I loved this thriller. It was such a great domestic thriller. There was a lot of twists and turns, and I really just like Kimberly Bell's writing style. So if the premise of this intrigues you whatsoever, I highly recommend it. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. The next one is Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino, and this is a second chance romance about two people who met in college. They were both seniors in college, and they roomed in the senior dorms, and they lived right next to each other, and they became really good friends, but they fell in love, and they had this really pure and passionate love for that final senior year. But life tore them apart in very unfortunate circumstances, and now it's been at least 15 years since they've broken up. And the guy, he is recently divorced, and the girl is a music teacher, and she's never forgotten about him, and he has never forgotten about her. And they have this chance encounter on the subway, and they kind of part ways, and they are brought back together in kind of a really quirky way. I really love this romance. I love second chance romances, and this one was really emotional. Renee Carlino writes second chance emotional romances so well, so I would really recommend this one. I gave this 5 stars. The next one is Happy Trail by Daisy Prescott, and this is the first book in the Park Rangers series, and this is about a young woman who's had several failed engagements, and she really wants to settle down to appease her family, and she finally thinks she's found the right guy. She's dating him. He is a Instagram social media like influencer, and he does a lot of like traveling. So he has this smart idea that they are going to go to the Appalachian Trail together and do the whole trail, which is like 1,000 miles or something. It's super long, and it would take them months at a time. And she's not very athletic whatsoever, but she agrees to go anyway. And like halfway through it, he proposes to her, and he does it on like Instagram Live, and it just seems really staged. And it doesn't seem genuine, so she turns him down, and he ends up ditching her on the trail. So this woman has to decide if she wants to continue the trail or kind of go home with her tail between her legs. And she decides to continue, rain or shine, and she gets stuck in a snowstorm, and a park ranger, he comes to save her, and they end up getting stranded in this cabin in the woods, and it is their romance. It was so good. It was a very slow burn romance, and I really loved the banter between our two main characters, and I liked that it was about the wilderness. It was kind of a unique premise to me, and I thought it was so enjoyable. I love the journey both literally as well as emotionally, and I couldn't recommend this one more. I gave it 5 stars. And the last one is Park Avenue Player by V. Keeland and Penelope Ward, and this is a romance about two people who get in a fender bender together, and the guy is a super jerk, and the girl is really rushed because she's going to a job interview, and they really get off on the wrong foot, and they part ways and never expect to see each other again. But lo and behold, when the girl walks into her interview, the employer that she is trying to interview with is the guy she got in the accident with, and their encounter is just really funny, and they really don't like each other. But he is desperate for a nanny because he recently took on custody of his niece, and so he really needs someone because he runs his own business and he's really busy. So he ends up hiring the woman, and she's working for him, and they have this attraction toward each other, and they cannot deny it. And this one was so steamy. If you like steamy reads, this one is high on the steam level. Such a great romance. I love this author duo, and I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. So those are all my stats and standouts for the month of October. I would love to hear if you've read any of these books or if you are interested in reading them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.